Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1929 silent crime romance film Pandora's Box. Hey, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I needed that pick-me-up for today. If this is your first time joining my channel, I'm reviewing every movie in this book, The 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. I am promised that it is the most updated edition there is. Pandora's Box is the final silent film on this list from the silent movie era. There will be other silent films, a couple from Charlie Chaplin, I think, but this is the last one from a decade that was absolutely dominated by female leads. The female actresses and the female performances and the female roles of the 1920s are astonishing. Some of the greatest acting I've ever seen is from this decade. You have the lead from Metropolis, Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans, Passion of Joan of Arc, The Crowd, and now Pandora's Box. It is astonishing what this era brought us for female actresses, and I am all for it because I love a strong female presence in a film. Now, if you look up Pandora's Box, you will see it is a jar containing all the evils and miseries of the world, and I believe that Lulu is that Pandora's Box. She is played by Louise Brooks. She is spirited, seductive, empowered, exploited, and ultimately is a doomed woman. She became the symbol for the femme fatale character that you will see later in movies, and she is one of the first overtly lesbian characters in film, which was absolutely daring for its time. This movie has a shocking storyline of murder, manipulation, and a tragic death. I was very much shocked by the end of this movie. Now, I'm sure a lot of people know how it ends because it's almost 100 years old, and I think the ending is pretty famous, but I went into this movie knowing absolutely nothing about it, and I had no idea, spoiler alert, that it involved a famous serial killer who murders at the end of the movie. I was floored. I was shocked by this. I had to rewind the movie and then play it again just to make sure I was watching what I was watching. And her character her death is shocking and it's tragic and she doesn't deserve it. And I think the fact that she's just kind of killed by the serial killer and that's her end. It's not a satisfying ending, but it makes sense for what her life had become at that time. So Lulu, she is a mistress. She is dating a somewhat wealthy gentleman who plans on marrying a woman of culture, of status, and he's just seeing Lulu on the side. He does not want to marry Lulu because she is wild. She is not the kind of woman that you would bring home to your mother, but circumstances later arise in the movie where he reluctantly has to marry her, not because she's like pregnant or anything, but just because he has to marry her. He doesn't want to, but he does it anyway. He is a very jealous person though, and one day he sees her with two gentlemen in her room, one of which she claims is her father. He goes into a jealous rage, grabs a gun, puts the gun in her hand, and says, "I want you to kill yourself for what you've done here, for the shame that you've brought onto me." Now, they struggle a little bit, there's a tussle, and she ends up shooting and killing him. And then the rest of the movie, so after she kills him, his son eventually falls in love with her. She goes on trial. She's convicted of the murder. She's convicted. I think she has to spend like 5 years in prison or something. But the son is able to create a distraction in the courtroom and is able to kind of get her out of there, and they go on the run. There's also a scene later in the movie where a distraction has to be done again in order to get her away from the cops once more. So in the 1920s, if you want to get away from the cops, you just have to create a distraction. Now, the rest of the movie is basically, and this applies for today too, is how difficult and how hard it is to live on the run from the cops. They run out of money, they run out of energy, they basically go broke, and they struggle, they have a really hard time making ends meet while they're running from the cops, because her wanted posters everywhere. Everyone knows who she is. Everyone's looking out for her. She's always having to look over her shoulder. It's just a very, very tough time. And then at the end of the movie, she ends up finding this nice looking gentleman on the street, and she decides that she wants to go up to his room and kind of have a fun time with him in his room. Now there's a point in this movie before this happens where there's like a wanted poster on this pole, but I watched this movie on Tubi and it didn't translate what the wanted poster said because I think this movie's in German. It didn't translate anything, so I had no idea what I was reading. But she ends up going up to the room with this guy who has a knife, but he drops the knife and you're thinking, okay, great. So I was worried that she was going to get murdered, but he dropped the knife, so now she's not going to get murdered. But when he's in the room, he finds another knife and he ends up murdering her. And I thought, oh, geez, this is such a tragic end to her life. And then when I Wikipedia'd this movie, I learned that that guy is Jack the Ripper. So she is one of, in this movie, she is one of the victims of Jack the Ripper. And I thought that makes it even more tragic and even more terrible if you know what Jack the Ripper did to his victims. I'm not saying that he did that to her in this movie, because at the end of the movie, you see him walking out of the room and he has no blood on him. I'm assuming he cleaned up or something, but Jack the Ripper did very terrible things to women, and I hope that that is not the fate that she, I mean, obviously she died, but what he does to the body afterwards, I hope that's not the fate that she had. She is just a charismatic person in this movie. You really root for her because the things that happen to her aren't necessarily her fault. Yes, you shouldn't date a married man, but that in itself should not warrant a death sentence. Everything else that happens to her is just so tragic and so unwarranted, and it's just so sad, and you really feel for this woman. You really feel bad for her. You really feel sorry for her. At least I did, and the ending is just so tragic. It's so emotional. It's so surprising. It's just a gut punch that she dies tragically like this. The acting performance from Louise Brooks is absolutely amazing. She's up there with all the other actresses that I mentioned early on in this movie. It's just a phenomenal job that she does. I believe when this movie came out, it was not a commercial success because of the introduction of sound movies, talkies, movies with sound. This was kind of the point where this, and I believe The Docks of New York, which is also another movie that I reviewed, where they're both really fantastic movies, but they just did poorly because of the addition of sound to movies. Not a lot of people were going out and watching silent films anymore, which I think is tragic. Obviously, today this movie is held in high regard. The acting performance of Louise Brooks is held up as one of the finest acting performances of the silent movie era, possibly one of the finest acting performances of all time. She is just made for this role. She is like a flapper-like character. I think she actually might have made the bob hairstyle in style. She made it famous. She made it so that all women wanted to go out and look like her and be like her. She just has a vibe in this movie that I don't think a lot of actresses could have pulled off. When I look at a lot of the other silent films that do not star those women that I just mentioned, I don't think any of them could have done this role. I think they got the perfect female for this movie. I can't see anyone else doing it. She just did an amazing job. This is a very good film. I will say some of it drags a little bit. Some of it is a little boring. There was, I mean, the part where they create the distraction I thought was a little bit ridiculous. As soon as the distraction was being created, I knew what was happening, and then later on in the movie they do it again. I'm like, okay, once maybe, but second, I don't know. Like, there's too many coincidences going on here, but I thought this movie was really good. I give it a 9 out of 10. I hope you join me next time when I review my first Alfred Hitchcock movie, I think, for this book. Not for this list, for this book. He is my favorite director of all time. That is called Blackmail. Thank you. Have a great day.